On today's Bob lesson, got some brand new material for you here today. I've been thinking about working on for a while. This was one of the topics I talked about in one of my groups lately. This is my 8th year being a school counselor, and just like anything else in life, the more you do it, the better at it hopefully you get. The more you start to process and think about things, and that is kind of the where this Bob lesson derives from. One thing that's been on my mind lately is students and the issues and how much time and how much emotional energy do they spend in things that are of substance and things that are of what I call fluff. Things that are of substance are things that really matter. Things that are of substance are things that are going to be there with you for a long, long time. They're longevity to them. Things that are substances where hopefully most of our time and energy is spent. Things that are fluff. Fluff isn't real. Fluff is, if you think about like the down coat I wear in the winter, it makes you look really big, but it's just fluff. Things that are fluff is more superficial. Things that are fluff is short term. Things that are fluff are things that when you get to be my age, you won't even remember having happened. Things that is fluff are things that are just short term, that really have no long term consequence to them. And so today's Bob lesson going to break this down, talk about the difference between substance, the difference between fluff, and especially moving forward as we get older. You 8th graders are a few months away from high school, where life's going to continue to get busier, continue to get more demanding. And you 7th graders move into 8th grade, where that same thing happens. More and more in your time and emotional energy hopefully is going to be based in things of substance rather than things of fluff. People that are successful in life, I really believe, spend almost 100% of their time in the substance, where things and people that aren't so successful get spending way too much spinning on things of fluff. So hope you guys enjoy this. We're off and running on this Bob lesson, substance versus fluff. Where is your time and emotional energy spent? But first, let's be our best this week at HMS. Let's be Bob. Let's be safe. Let's be responsible. Let's be respectful. Let's be a learner. All right, before I introduce kind of the difference between and the definitions of substance versus fluff, I wanted to take a couple moments and look at this from a couple different perspectives. The first starts with a quote, and it's about time and how we spend our time. There are 86,400 seconds in a day. It's up to you to decide what to do with them. As I said in the intro, as you get older, life becomes more demanding. How you spend your time and the efficiency with how you spend your time becomes more and more important. As you move into high school and the academic demands grow and the extracurricular activities and clubs, that stuff grows, and some of you get into part-time jobs, which takes more and more of your time. Being efficient with your time and how you use it becomes critically important to your success or your lack of success. Every day, everybody gets the same amount of time to use to either grow and get better, to invest in the things that are important to them, or invest in things that aren't important and fail to grow and get better. Second, I'd like us to look at where our emotional energy is spent. I think emotional energy could be defined as where our head is at, where our brain is at, where our emotions at, where our focus is at. I talk with students all the time about only having so many units of energy and emotional energy to spend maybe throughout the day. And let's pretend that those is measured in 100 marbles. Where are we spending those emotional units at? If the majority of our marbles are spent on things that are fluff here coming up, we're going to talk about, then that only leaves a few marbles left for substance. At any given time, I'm hoping that 90, 95, 100% of our emotional energy or our marbles are spent on things of substance, things that really matter. And I'm going to talk about that here in a little bit. But the first part I'm going to talk about is fluff and things that are fluff. But before I get to the actual what that looks like, maybe being a 7th and 8th grader, a freshman in high school, I wanted to go to a definition. And fluff is a noun, and I pulled this straight off of the Webster.com dictionary. And fluff is entertainment or writing perceived as trivial or superficial. So I really want to focus on the back part of that, is that it is perceived as trivial or superficial. A lot of things that I'm going to talk about here in a moment with Fluff are things in the moment that feel like they're very important. Things that steal our emotional energy, that steal our time, that we get caught up in, we spin on, that we feel like is really important, but once our emotion subsides and we step outside of it and maybe a little bit of time passes, we realize that maybe that wasn't so important after all. Even though it felt important in the moment, probably wasn't looking back. All right, so what does this actually look like to some of you? Well, here's where I think some of us spend too much time in the fluff zone when it comes to our time and our emotional energy. How about interpersonal disputes where we're fighting with a friend? You may refer to this as drama, where we are out of class and we are emotionally dysregulated, so we can't be a learner, we can't do the things of substance. When in a day or two or three, we are back being best friends, and a lot of that time was wasted. How about romantic disputes and breakups in middle school? We know that the average middle school relationship probably only lasts a couple of weeks. Dating when you're young hopefully should be about trial and error and figuring out what you want in a romantic relationship, what you don't want if you're choosing to do that. When we end up too much dysregulated in our emotions in that area, that sometimes can take away from substance things that are important. How about power struggles with adults, maybe specifically teachers? Newsflash, teachers are human beings too, and sometimes they have bad days. When you decide you're going to get in a power struggle or a dispute with a teacher and get sent to the office or not do your work because you're going to show the teacher who's boss, at the end of the day, you're getting caught in a bunch of fluff and you're taking away from your own learning, which is your own substance. How about self-care in a non-healthy way using drugs and alcohol? In the short term, that may feel good, that may help you blow off some release, maybe juuling has become popular, but self-care with drugs and alcohol is just fluff. It's not real substance, it's not real self-care. That's not really going to help you refill your bucket and get re-energized. How about spending excessive time on social media? Getting disappeared into our phone or our tablet and kind of passing the time there. I would like you to ask yourself, is that an efficient use of time and energy when we are being on social media for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hours a day, however long some of you spend on social media? Last but not least, how about worrying and putting emotional energy into things you can't control? I don't know how so many times students allow their entire day to be ruined, multiple days or a week to be ruined over something that they have absolutely no control over. Things that we have no control over, that is fluff in life. And I'm probably missing a couple here. So I encourage you to think about, are we spending too much time and emotional energy on things that are fluff, things that maybe on the surface you think matter, but in the big picture they don't? All right, let's move to substance now. Substance as well, looking at a definition, is a noun. It's the most important or essential part of something. And that something really is our lives, if we put it in that context. The real or essential meaning of our lives, which hopefully is based in purpose and growth and investment in ourselves. Second definition of the quality of being important, valid, or significant. So very much different from the fluff, which was perceived as being important when it really wasn't. This is the quality of actually being important, valid, or significant. And here we're going to talk about what that looks like, maybe being a 14, 15, 13-year-old. We're now going to look at things of substance, things that matter. And the first is, and where this whole conversation, this whole idea derived from, is students spending too much time spinning in areas of fluff and missing classroom and valuable academic time. So obviously the first is your investment into your future, which at this age is obviously your education. I talk with students all the time about your interpersonal dispute, or what you are spinning on in the fluff zone right now will not matter in 5 years, but that important math class or that important science lab or whatever it is that you're missing right now will be a part of your education and will still be sticking with you 5 to 10 years from now. How about your family? You do not get to choose your family. Your family is hopefully always going to be there for you. So when you do have disputes or disagreements with them, hopefully we're able to get that problem solved. You do get to choose your friends. Friends come and go. Family is usually forever. How about building grit and perseverance? I continue to believe that these two things are so crucial in being successful for young people and human beings in general. When you come up against something tough, in fluff is when you quit, when you grind through it, when you work through it, when you persevere through it, and you become a grittier, more perseverant person. That is something of substance that you're always going to need to build on in life. Extracurricular clubs and activities are so important along with education, being involved in something, being a part of something greater than yourself, learning to cooperate and be teammates with other people, learning to have discipline, learning to be successful in pressure situations. All those things, being involved, are so very important. So much more substance there than spending that time on your phone or dilly-dallying around with your friends. Appropriate self-care. We did a Bob lesson earlier this year about appropriate self-care, things that are healthy for you, things that help you reset yourself, things that help you refill your bucket, exercise, reading, spending time with friends, um, getting your heart rate up, all those things that we talked about earlier on a Bob lesson, knowing your own self-care. And finally, putting energy into things you can control. That is something of substance. If you can control the outcome, then that time and that emotional energy is very much well spent on it. What things am I forgetting? Maybe you have your own things of substance that I did not put on this list. If so, drop me an email or come talk. All right, let's give away some jelly beans, shall we? Last week's Jelly Bean Question of the Week's winners were Sally Linden, Chase Foster, Emerson Poole, Emma Puppy Dog Oberweiser, and Corey Rule. Last or a couple weeks, I think this was maybe before Christmas break. The question was what makes you young? Obviously, the letters N and G. You young, get it? All right, this one might be a little more challenging. Jelly Bean Question of the Week: what is coming but never arrives? If you think you know, come down to the counseling center, submit your answer to the Bob Box. Tune in next week to see if you are a winner. All right, Bobcats, let's make it a great week at the Helena Middle School.